What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and that also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have to head on over to our favorite parody news station, MSDNC, who should soon be changing their name to Cartoon Network. On Cartoon Network, actually known as MSNBC, the fear-mongering never ends, and the fear-mongering continues. Coming off of Kamala Harris's tragic performance at the town hall that she had on CNN, moderated by Anderson Cooper, today, Mika Brzezinski was live on air and had a full-blown meltdown, literally screaming that Donald Trump wants to take the lives of women, that this is what he wants to do. He specifically wants to take the lives of women. That's what he's seeking to do. Let's get into this clip right now. Don't believe me? Let me play this for you. This is completely absurd and ridiculous.
As important as Trump's fascism is, and is the lead story every day, his cozying up to dictators, his obsession with Hitler that has now come out, what he has said about our veterans, and what he wants to do with the military against his political adversaries, it's all huge news. This is the future that we're looking at in the next Trump term, if there is one. But this is what voters know right now, that he is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us. He is putting us at risk. He is making us afraid to have babies. He is putting our reproductive health at risk, and some women have died already because of this.
I had to cut this off at least halfway through. I just, how you get on air and lie like this day in and day out is unbelievable. It's beyond me. She literally got on here and said that women are now afraid to have babies. They're afraid to have babies? Why would they be afraid to have babies when the goal is with abortion to them? That doesn't really make sense, right? You're upset that you can't the babies the way you'd like to, but you're saying that he's making women afraid to have babies. That doesn't make sense. But this is the foolishness that's coming out of MSNBC. When all you have is fear mongering, this is how illogical and nonsensical the things you start to say become. Once again, these people want to babies. That's what they want to do. But she's now saying that Donald Trump is making women afraid to have babies. How? That literally makes no sense. It's fear mongering for fear mongering's sake. But let's let her continue.
So we can see right now what's coming. These headlines, and very good reporting, by the way, that shouldn't be questioned by idiots about what Trump has said about Hitler. That's incredibly important to know. But I do understand that people who are busy and that are people who are just tapping in may not be able to comprehend because we've been free. We've been comfortable. We cannot comprehend that.
Were we in cages when Donald Trump was in office the first 4 years of his presidency? Were we not free the first 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency? Apparently not. But we've been freed by the abolitionist party headed by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
And I understand that. I validate that it is hard to go from here to there. It is where we're going. I hope we don't find out the hard way. But what's happening with women right now is real, and it is playing out across America.
There's nothing happening to women across America. There's literally nothing happening to women across America, at least not by Donald Trump. At least not by Donald Trump. Now, as I listen to this foolishness coming out of Mika's mouth, I want to take a moment to pivot to this CNN clip very quickly, because I do want to kind of build upon what's said here. So let me transition over to this video clip now.
Coming up too, that you don't hear.
Rewind it back just a little bit.
Another thing that keeps coming up too, that you don't hear a lot about in the national media, Dana, is a lot of young men are worried about global conflict because they are of draft age. That comes up over and over and over again in conversations that I've been having over the last few weeks when I've been traveling through all these states on campuses.
That's really interesting.
A lot of men are concerned about global conflict because they are of drafting age. I remember when Kamala Harris went on that Freak Off podcast. I believe it's called Call Her Daddy, which is a play on the saying call me daddy, like a guy would say call me daddy, I guess in the bedroom, but it's Call Her Daddy. Like I said, it's a Freak Off podcast where they discuss threesomes and, you know, things like that, you know, and playing with toys and all this kind of stuff. For some reason, Kamala thought it was a good idea to go on a Freak Off podcast. But while she was on the Freak Off podcast, I'll never forget, the woman asked this silly question. The host asked Kamala this silly question saying, you know, there's legislation on the books that are telling women what they can and can't do with their body. But let me ask you something, Kamala. Is there any legislation on the books that tells men what they can and can't do with their body? Well, yes, there is. Now, to the contrary, there is no legislation that's telling women what they can and can't do with their body. You literally can do whatever you want with your body. Nobody's telling you what you can and can't do. There is no legislation on the books telling you what you can and cannot do with your body unless you just enjoy children. I mean, you know, outside of that, there is no legislation telling you what you can and can't do. But as it pertains to men, yes, there is. Yes, there is. And I don't think any of us that are in the draft age range want Kamala Harris at the head of the White House as president, with her inability to articulate herself and with her quick-tempered manner whenever she's lightly pressed on anything. I don't think any of us want her at the head seat of that table, having any type of conversation with Putin, Xi Jinping, or anybody else. The world is in complete conflict right now. Complete conflict right now. You have what's happening in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. You have what's going on in Europe right now between Russia and Ukraine. We have China that is growing closer and closer and closer to making its move on Taiwan. And if we don't get someone in office like a Trump, who is respected around the world, contrary to belief, who can make it a point to lower the temperature globally, Kamala Harris triggering World War III means you and I, men of draft age, will be drafted into a U.S. military that is currently understaffed. Many of you may know this already. Some of you may not. But the military is having a hard time recruiting people. So you better believe if World War III gets triggered, guess what legislation is on the books that is going to tell a man what he can and can't do with his body? And that is real. What Mika is talking about is not real. This woman is talking complete foolishness when she speaks and opens her mouth. But what I'm saying, we all know is real. And you have to ask yourself, especially you men out there, do you want to roll the dice with having Kamala Harris in office? And now you're on a plane on your way to Russia or on your way to China to fight a war that could have been stopped, that could have been prevented had the man on your screen right now been voted into office. I don't really think it's worth the gamble, if you ask me. But with all that being said, that does it for today's news. All right? That does it for today's news. Thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram and Rumble. It is extremely important that you do that. Please follow me on Telegram and Rumble at TD Media Group. Both the link to my Telegram and Rumble will be pinned in the description box below and in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.